Hey everybody, this is Guy Sketchy's Garage. Today we're going to tear the Angry Lover the rest of the way apart. Apparently she wanted to break up with me, and she did it in style. So we're going to go ahead and get the bottom end tore apart, look at some more of the damage. Like we found out last night that the number one rod bearing spun and the number one main bearing spun. So we definitely got some major issues going on, and I don't think therapy is going to help. I'm going to go ahead and pull the balancer off, and we'll pull it the rest of the way apart. Whenever we're using a balancer puller, I like to take and just make sure you get all the bolts pulled in the same, because you can get it to where it's cocked, and it'll kind of put the balancer in a bind when you're trying to pull it off and make it a lot harder. So I always like to make sure I got the puller good and square with the balancer. Alright, I'm going to try doing this the right way. They say you ain't supposed to use impacts on these things. I usually, not going to lie to you guys, we're friends. I usually use an impact. But I don't know if I can handle the heat from the comment section, so. Don't let me forget that screwdriver's there. I'll be completely... Why is this thing not moving? Why is it doing this? Just like that, she's off there. Go ahead and put this back up. Take that back out of there. Get about it. Move on to the side machine cover. So I've been checking out some of you guys' channels. I checked out Playing with Horsepower. He's into square bodies and got a big block mud truck. Really cool. He's out there gap tizing some people. You should go check him out. And then there was another guy named Nitrous, I believe. Check them out. He's got some cool stuff. I appreciate you guys sending me some of the people you watch. Like I say, it's pretty hard to find people. Once you get like 10,000 subscribers, it's a little bit easier to be found, but anything below that threshold, it's like a needle in a haystack. Really hoping that this motor would pan out, but sometimes in life it just doesn't. To be honest with you, it's probably destined to be a mid 7-second motor anyhow. At least this way we'll take her. Maybe see if we can find a nice stroker kit for it or something. See if we can't make her make some pretty decent power for us. Or it might get sat in the corner and never to be seen again. Alright guys, we're down to the cam. If you guys is your first time getting here, see how these tabs are folded over? Those are meant to keep these cam bolts from backing out. So all you got to do is just kind of come in here with a punch and a punch and a hammer and beat it flat and over, and that way you can take the timing gear off. Just take and find the outermost edge and just tap it over, and it'll curl right around for you. You don't have to get very aggressive with the hammer at all. It's one of those things that just kind of finesse it. Now we'll be able to go in here and break this loose. If any of you guys are wondering what this right here is, it's called a cam button. Whenever you go with like a roller style cam, the cam can actually move back and forth like this in the block. That's to keep it from moving so much. It'll still move a little bit, but not near as much. They make a fancy tool for pulling these cams out, but you can use a bolt just the same. Usually if I had any extra money, I'd spend it on a hamburger or something. Alright guys, we're going to take a closer look at the camshaft. Whenever inspecting the cam, just take a look at the lobes. Make sure they haven't been hammered on any. Usually there'll be an indicator of, you'll see pushed metal around it, or you'll see metal shaving type stuff. This is a roller cam, so they're more oval shaped. Most solid and hydraulic cams, they look more like an egg, and it normally wipes the crown off of the sharper point, or the sharper point of the lobe. This one, it looked pretty good. I looked at it a couple seconds off camera. This is one of the lobes we cleaned up a little bit. It had a little gouge in it where a lifter had seized on it once, and then there was another one that was like that right here. We was hoping it'd work out for us, but as you can see, we still got problems. Feels smooth. We'll probably give that thing a try again, maybe in something else. We can go ahead and get to tearing this thing down. Like I said last night's video, you want to make sure you mark all your main caps. As you can see, they've been stamped right there. Someone's been in this motor before us, so all that was already done. You also wanted to do the same thing with your rods. You want to stamp them. It's important to stamp both your rod and your cap, just in case for some reason the two come apart and then you got two rods sitting there and you're like, well, which cap goes to which? So if you always mark both of them, that won't be an issue. And it's always good to take and mark them on the same side, so you know when you put the rod back together that you're putting it back together the right way. Alright. We just usually take an old broom handle and use it for a piston knocker. We just take and put it at the bottom of the piston like that. Take a hammer and tap it out. I like to take and hold my knee over the cylinder, so that way the piston doesn't fall out onto the floor. It'll just fall out and hit my knee, and then I can reach my hand down and take it the rest of the way out. We're going to go ahead and knock them out. If you guys ever start running nitrous motors and stuff and got to get into them, the ring glands are notorious for wanting to lift, especially like an area like right here, because it's thinner there. It'll want to have like a hot spot, and the ring or the piston itself will ring. The piston will lift right there and have a little gap between the ring, which will give you some problems. One thing you can kind of do to help avoid that is like these corners right here. You see how they're at a sharp 90, and that's at a sharp 90. Take and scuff them down to where it's like a rolled edge. It's kind of like whenever you're cutting with a cutting torch. It's way easier to get the torch to get started and blowing through on a sharp corner at the edge of what you're cutting, versus if you go to the middle and then try to start cutting, it takes a lot longer. That's the same thing here. If you don't have a spot that's going to be a hot spot real fast, it'll last a little bit better for you. One other thing, if this motor had a crank that was kind of worried about, we would take and slide pieces of rubber hose over the studs sticking out, so that way it didn't gouge the crank by accident when knocking it out. But being this crank's junk, we're not going to take the time to do that. Thing's being stubborn for some reason. I'm saying that cap got hot, got a little distorted. So I'm just going to go ahead and knock the rod bolts out of it completely. prod almost looks bent. What do you guys think? See it up in there, and then right in there like it's kind of did one of them numbers. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too much. Things starting to come apart a lot better now that we're hitting pieces and parts that haven't been bearings spun and all that fun stuff. Still haven't got used to doing YouTube videos. It's kind of weird. Usually in my own little world when I work. Usually listen to some music and just go about my day. So when it's time to do a video, it's kind of tough because I'm just used to putting the head down and working, not talking. Not a very talkative person to start off with. So, of course it makes perfect sense. Start a YouTube channel. If you guys are ever taking these apart, knocking the pistons out of them, and they get to a real hard spot, take and knock it back up a little bit. You probably got it lodged in between the block somewhere and the rod. They'll come out relatively easy for you. Shouldn't have to put too much pressure at all on them to get them to come out. Show you guys this journal. This crank it'll probably clean up so it's not complete junk. Well, we'll have to check that main right there because it spun it. It might be junk after all. We're going to go ahead and pull the mains off, take a look at them. We had these two bearings that was spun, and we know this main bearing spun. So we'll get the rest of this apart, take a look at it, see what we're working with. We already know it's pretty much well junk. We're just confirming our fears. always one. And I don't know where the breaker bar is at. Whenever there's a possibility of your hand slipping and smacking something, it's always a good idea to put on a pair of gloves, because it'll cushion the blow quite a bit. On your main caps, it's really important that you put the same bolt in the back, same in the back in the same hole. They say it can make the hole untrue, so keep that in mind when you're tearing it apart. It's good practice always just to take them apart, set them right there together, and then put the bolts back in it with the caps back on it once you get the crank out. Alright guys, got all the main caps off of it. It started to spin this main bearing right here too. So the first two are toast, and then these two rod journals are toast. I kind of anticipate just getting a stroker kit for it most likely. You can pick them up relatively inexpensive these days. Get a crank rods, pistons package. Hopefully won't have too much money in it. The bore is really nice for a standard bore. It's not egg shaped or nothing. It's pretty tight, but we're definitely going to have the block line bored and straightened out and start out with a new set of rods, because I almost think that's, I don't know what happened to this thing. It's just angry, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that crank out. That's why I left the flywheel in there. Makes it a little bit easier to grab, give you a little bit of leverage. We'll pull that crank out and we'll call it a day. I hope I can lift this thing up. I didn't eat my Wheaties today. I feel weakly. What's always amazed me about diesel mechanics, it seems like all the really good ones are guys that are real small stature and have to lift all that heavy stuff. I've never got that. Bad day, Tater. Okay, everybody, we got the Angry Lover motor all apart. I asked you guys what you guys think out there. What should we do with it? Should we fix it up? What direction should we take it? Stroker motor, stock, push it over there in the corner, never to be seen again. Just drop me a line below. Tell me what you think. Appreciate everybody watching. Y'all have a good day.